Welcome to the Proven Podcast, where it does not matter what you think, only what you can prove. Everyone thinks the secret to scaling past $10 million is better funnels and bigger ad spend. Today's guest, Mark Young, founder of RYZE Agency, proves that's exactly why most brands get stuck. The show starts now.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. I'm really excited to be on here. Mark, thank you so much for joining us.
I appreciate the invite again.
Again, yes, we had a little bit of a kerfuffle the first time. We're glad to be back. We'll have to talk about that where my systems completely break down, which, hey, you know what? That was on me. I apologize. So
Mine do it too.
So for the few people who know who you are, who don't know who you are, tell us more about you. What do you do? Who are you?
Yeah. So again, I appreciate the invite. I am obviously Mark Young, as you just said. I hate that question. Is that terrible? Like, I'm just such a non-self-promoting person that when someone's like, "Tell me about yourself," I'm like, I'd really rather talk about you. Who am I though? I'm a guy who just likes showing up in the world as a real version of me. I think, and especially, I'm an advertising and marketing guy. And I own an agency we specialize in direct to consumer and e-commerce marketing. So a lot of e-com stuff. We're media agnostic, but um, I like showing up a genuine version to me, which, by the way, I use that, which sounds like real fluff language. I acknowledge that. But the reality is as a marketing guy, you kind of have the skills to show up however you want.
Mhm.
And I think it's a special skill set to not show up as someone you aren't. I think that's actually a skill set, if that makes sense.
Because from the beginning as an entrepreneur, you try to put your hat and put on different hats at the same time. Then you have to get back to going, well, who am I really? And have that authentic thing. Most people along the way.
Yeah, I don't wanna be a chameleon, like, I don't wanna just fit into a situation, like, I wanna genuinely be me because I think there's especially in the marketing world, and this is a lesson that I really, really, really double down with because the majority of the brands we deal with are entrepreneurial. And I say that we really double down on the storytelling of that founder story, because the reality is in the e-com world specifically, like, we have commoditized darn near everything that a person can buy in a commodity world, we need to really focus. And I know we may disagree a little bit here on some of this, but the in a commoditized world, relationship matters much more than transactions, because relationship leads to transaction. Transactions don't lead to relationship, and I think we just need to prioritize the way those things go. So I say that with the founders and the entrepreneurs that I work with and coach on a regular basis, like that's one of the things that I really emphasize with them is genuinely be yourself. Quit trying to chase an audience that you're never going to resonate with. That we need to get this loved by few rather than liked by many down. Um,
And I think the only way to do that is to be your authentic self. And one of the things your marketing agency does differently than a lot of the other ones is the people you interact with on a high level. These are high performers. These are high earners. These are people at an exceptionally high level.
Absolutely. Yeah,
And
these are business owners. These are entrepreneurs. These are, in many cases, we work with a lot of brands. I would say 80% of our book of business is all working with health and wellness brands and I would say that they're swimming upstream, because these are countercultural type brands that are supplements, they're medical devices, they're not big pharma, they're not insurance covered things. They're um, patient paid things, right? Like you're not getting this covered by insurance. We're not selling knee replacements. We're selling red light therapy devices that actually lead to reducing joint pain. Like very, very different sell. And authenticity is so important in that conversation.
so they're actually selling things that actually help people, is what you're saying.
Strangely, yes.
And yeah, imagine that. So like H5 and all of those things. Yay, good stuff.
Yeah, good times. Good times.
Yeah, really, really helpful, healthy stuff. Before we get into all that health stuff, I wanted to talk about, in that environment, that is a different niche that most people go into. And it's different languages. For example, if I was going to create a dating website for women in their 20s, it would be very different verbiage and copy than a dating website for women in their 30s. Very different environment. You're talking to entrepreneurs who are ultra successful, who have now reached the point where they've got the lion that's been chasing them kind of in a cage. They've got funds under control, but now we're trying to penetrate a market that is that ultra, that decamillionaire, that centimillionaire, that environment
Yeah.
that are in that. There's a different way of communicating to that. How do you instruct and how do you work with your clients and what do you have them say?
Well, I'm going to say this, that is, it doesn't matter to me how much money that the entrepreneur has. I believe that every one of us experiences that same spectrum of emotions. And that is, I love, there was a meme online years ago that was, I'm crushing it. Oh my God, I'm going bankrupt. This is amazing. I'm the best at what I do. Oh no, the world is going to end here if I don't finish this report. It's like, and it's captioned a day in the life of an
Yeah, and
entrepreneur, right? Like
yeah, Tuesday.
this this was not the entrepreneur's month, week, year. This was literally a day in the life of an entrepreneur. And I will say that the thing that I enjoy, and I laughingly say it's because my educational background is actually in clinical psychology, and I say that I tend to be the entrepreneur whisperer.
Mhm.
Um, and a lot of that is that entrepreneurs, high performers, anybody that gets to that top position in their space, and it could be because you've got the top position in your company, right? So no one understands where you're coming from because everyone else is on payroll. And it could be that in your family, you're the highest performer. So no one at Thanksgiving understands the day you're having because no one around the table has your experience. And it could be in the friend circle that you're part of. But the one thing about high performers, these entrepreneurs, these people that I work with on a daily basis, there's a lot of rooms that they walk into that feel lonely.
Yes.
And I mean, I'm sure you can relate to that in a lot of ways too,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah,
Like
I
you
belonged
got to,
to something called EO in my 20s, and I don't drink, I never have, it's not my thing, but it
Mhm.
really felt like AA for entrepreneurs, where you stand up, you're like, "Hi, my name is Charles, I don't know the difference between my business life and my personal life." They're like, "Oh, yes, welcome."
Yeah,
Because that's
yeah, exactly. Welcome, Charles. Welcome.
like, "Look, welcome here. Yes, you are in the right place." And it is very lonely being a successful entrepreneur. So getting to
Yeah, and
communicate with them and connect with them, you'd have to be a whisperer on some level.
well, and to that point, when I actually meet with new clients or even have conversations with people I've worked with for years, the reality is I always start with the human on the other side of the call. And that is, when I'm telling them, look, like in order to make our next step, like you've got a $10 million business and we're trying to grow it to $100 million business at this point, and telling them like I'm going to give you a couple of options here on where we need to go with this. But please understand that me throwing a blue ocean kind of plan to you doesn't mean that I don't understand your concerns with cash flow.
Right.
Like I'm a business owner as well. I realize that there are a lot of good things, and usually that's where the conversation goes. Is this, and I tell them like there's a difference between a good business decision versus a good cash flow decision, and usually they're at odds
Yes.
because a good
Often those
cash
2
flow
are
decision. What is it?
yeah, very, very often those 2 are at odds.
Absolutely, and I mean, the idea that, growth is fantastic, but it comes with a cash cost, and sometimes that cash cost means borrowing, and sometimes borrowing means giving up margin, and the growth isn't worth giving up the margin for the borrowing. Like, sure, you can grow the business, but you just gave away any incremental profit that you just earned in interest from the borrowing. Like, why grow? I deal with entrepreneurs on the regular who for most entrepreneurs, and I'm gonna say at that 10 million is really where I see the break point. Like that's a number. Like that is a number where when I have clients that are under 10 million, like that is the target. Like it 8 digit is their world. And unfortunately, I'm having a conversation with them on the regular because I'm trying to throttle them back. Let me give an example. We may spend media efficiently or aggressively, but you can't do both, right? Like
Mhm.
when we're buying, whether it's digital media, radio media, whatever it is, and I will get an entrepreneur. I have one in particular. In fact, true story. I just fired her recently because she was just a bad client.
Mhm.
But it was a bad client that I must have this and this and this, and you're trying to explain that we can spend aggressively because 10 million is your number, and you want anything to hit 10 million, but in doing so, we're going to lose all of the efficiency, and your accounting is so bad
Mhm.
that you're not even making profitable sales at this point. You're just chasing a $10 million number, and then you're upset. Like you have to scale smart. So I'm often putting plans out saying, look, we can get to your number, but it's going to come at a cost. And or we can make you a lot of money, but it's not necessarily going to get to your number at the rate you're trying to get there because there is scaling, there is testing, there is all of these things that need to go in there. And unfortunately, I will say that where I find most entrepreneurs fail, particularly in the e-com world, is lifetime value.
Mhm.
And that is, they are so busy trying to get a new customer on the books and transactions, 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 that they fail to realize that your best customer is the one who's already bought from you. And we call it life cycle marketing. And it's like trying to explain to them that making a wreck of your follow up is the fastest way to lose a customer. And there was an example recently given. It was in it was in a book that I just read. You know Joe Polish? I'm sure you know Joe.
Hmm.
Genius Network Joe. Like
Yep.
Joe's a good friend, and I just recently read one of his older books, and Joe's big deal in carpet cleaning was his big deal, right? And his book, Piranha Marketing. And he gives the example of a guy who was so overwhelmed by the incredible work that this carpet company had done, and he just loved it, and he paid extra for it, and so on and so forth. And the next time he needed his carpets cleaned, he forgot the name of the company and hired someone else.
It's funny
Because
we both live in South Florida, and we drive by something that says "Your wife is hot." There's a billboard that says
love
"Your
that.
wife is hot,"
Yes.
and I
And it's an
asked,
air conditioning company.
yeah, I was like, "What's the name of the air conditioning company?" And they're like,
No clue.
and you have no idea. Everyone knows the billboard, but it's a complete failure because they don't remember the name of the company. So to your point with carpet cleaning,
100%.
that you're not doing the follow up, you're not building that relationship, you're not building that rapport. So it's eating
Absolutely. If I bought from you once, I gave you permission to keep talking to me. And
100%.
if you don't, it's a snub.
Right. And people
And
don't do that.
and
The follow up is horrible, and it
yep.
doesn't have to be a great deal of things. Like, what are the ways that you encourage people to follow up with previous clients?
So there's many, and it really depends on the vertical that they're working in. Probably the way that I talk to my clients most often and encourage them to do is a well managed email database.
Mhm.
And that is, I will say that there is a false reality that Instagram followers are the way to go. And
Thank you for saying that.
huh?
Thank you for saying that. I've been trying to get this in people's ears for now. Yeah.
Oh, it's a joke. Like, and the problem is it's a vanity metric, and
Yep.
nobody wants to talk about it. That followers on social media is fine.
Mhm.
The problem is I'll draw this comparison for your listeners and say that it's a vanity metric, and the problem is the algorithm is stacked against you to begin with. Because let's assume you have 10,000 followers on your Instagram feed at a high number. The algorithm is only going to ever show your post to 5% of your audience.
That's an exceptional
So
item. I think you need a
exceptionally
period in
high
front
number.
of that 5.
Two to
It
two to three is
Yeah,
normal.
right. Because I remember
So
I went live, the first time I ever went live, and I just got 100,000 followers. I was like, "This is amazing. I'm gonna have, like, 20 people on here when I go live."
12 people showed
And
up.
I had, like, yeah, like 40 people. I was like, "What the" and I felt horrible. I was like, "What's going on?" And then I watched Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, go live, and he's got millions of followers, and there was, like, 2,000 people. And I was like, "Alright, I feel better now." And I logged off. I was like, "Okay, I
Totally.
feel better.
Well, the
It's not
thing
just
is
me."
that and that vanity metric is so terrible because you take a 10,000 followers,
Mhm.
that's 500 people are ever gonna see your post. And yet we spend so much time curating that post so beautifully and making sure that the image is just shaded correctly. And it's like, and then the worst part about it is of the 500 people who ever see your post,
Mhm.
again, 500 is a really generous number because it's
Very
probably closer to 2 to 300, but we'll play it generously. The reality is most of the people that are part of the 500, the algorithm will find the people who usually engage with their posts because they think that those are your most active engaged audience. Well, that includes you, that includes me, that includes my marketing director, that includes the receptionist, that includes my friends, my wife, like, and you run through this entire list and it's like you're going through the list of your people and it's like, oh, well, this post has higher engagement than normal. And I'm like, literally, you're just entertaining yourself
Yes.
as opposed to 10,000 people on my email database.
Mhm.
Let's say on a super low side, I mean, a 25 to 30% open rate, and I would be putting triage on your email database.
Mhm.
But a 25 to 30% open rate on an email list means I just got 2,500 to 3,000 people to hear whatever message I wanted. And we spend so much time trying to get followers
Mhm.
and not get a database sign up.
Right. And we don't actively build that database. So, like, for example, we're getting
Correct.
1,000 downloads a day on the podcast, which is wild, but we are doing nothing to
Yes.
capture those people. And there's
That's tragic.
Oh, yeah, yeah, just well, we
And
kinda
I mean,
fell into this. We're starting to work on it. So,
yeah,
if in those situations where it is tragic and you have to do triage, what are the things that you immediately tell people? Say, "Hey, you've got this audience, people are coming to you, you want to build it, you want to sell more, you want to hit numbers that like, because there's a big difference between what I want and what I really need. And that's the conversation we were having before. Like, oh, I want to make 10 figures, I want to become a deca millionaire. Congratulations. But what I really need is if I had a $500,000 of residual income coming in every year, I wouldn't show up for my job anymore. So that is a conversation that most entrepreneurs aren't willing to have. And that's where people like you and I come in. I'm like, no, what do you really want? Let's have a real conversation. And people just aren't having that conversation. So for those
Well,
people trying to do that, how do you capture those? How do you gain what are the best ways to get a hold of those people?
oh gosh, there's so I'm gonna get into what I refer to as social exchange, which is a sociological term that talks about the I give to you, you give to me, because there's what we call reciprocity.
Yeah.
And the easiest way to actually work on building a database is this act of reciprocity. Like I generously give you something, and then in exchange, you intuitively feel the need to give me something in return.
Mhm.
So usually what we find in those email data, I mean, one, let me back up quickly and say, usually, usually, the way that most people end up building their database is it's an entire list of past purchasers,
Right.
right? Like, so congratulations, all the people who you talked into buying from you are on your list, but where are all the people who've never engaged with you?
Right.
Like that becomes the bigger problem is how do we engage the people who are not there because those are the ones you still need to convert. Like that's your colder list.
Mhm.
But we really push again, it really depends on the brand, but I'll give you an example. I have a list that I run called Fitter Over 50.
Mhm.
And it's a newsletter. It's 100% a newsletter. And I actually put about $5,000 of my own money a month
Mhm.
into just getting leads from Instagram and Facebook, so all Meta platform, where I pay about $1 for an address,
Mhm.
and people get a promise that leads to a page that literally just says, and I want to say that I'm going to sound terrible. It's fitterover50.life is the website, but it's a blog site, and the entire blog site is 100% filled with articles about aging defiantly.
Mhm.
And I use the word aging defiantly because that actually that is an opt-in word
Mhm.
because I don't want to age gracefully. I have zero interest in aging gracefully, Charles. Like I turned 50 in about 3-4 weeks,
Congratulations.
and oh, so I made it this far, right?
Woohoo.
But literally
Hey,
turning
I got
50,
you
and I'm
by about a month and a half. I hit 48, so I'm chasing after that.
oh, there you go. There you go. Same demo.
Yeah.
But the reality is like turning 50, I'm like, one of the things that was going through my head was like, this is a thing. So for quite a while now, I've been running this Fitter Over 50 database. I have tens of thousands of people on the database already, partially because I bought them in. But what I measure on it isn't how many people I can buy. What I measure is the open rate
Right.
because the engagement that I get out of this audience is great. So I have thousands of people every week end up on this database who open this and read the articles, and I can see how many people are clicking through. But the whole point of the articles, and again, aging defiantly, the voice of this newsletter that I write myself, is all set up in a screw what everyone else says about aging. Like
Mhm.
this is ridiculous. Like I have no interest in growing old. I have
True.
I want to grow great and die suddenly. Like I have no interest in living forever, but I also have no interest in living in a feeble state. Like I'm
Absolutely.
going to do
Quality of
everything.
life versus quantity of life. I spent 8 years in a hospice
I
once,
want both.
and it would be great to have both, and with mom,
Yeah,
I think there's things that are changing that. A friend of mine has, intense TBI, and he got into HBOT and, all these other
sure.
therapies, and it's completely reversing all of that, and his biomarkers are changing, and it's really
Absolutely.
impressive stuff that he's done. So, when you're going into that, I know you mentioned you were buying the list. When you're providing value to them, since you're specifically writing,
Exactly right.
you're using the laws of reciprocity. When you're providing value, how many value offers do you give before you ask? How many do you go?
Yeah, so I will say that the unusual thing about that particular list is because the I'm only asking the more information you ask from a person,
Mhm.
the less likely you are to get it.
Right.
Right? If I ask you for your name and email address, all right, you can block me, you can unsubscribe, like, the exit is pretty quick. If I ask you for your phone number also, whoa, the stakes just went up, right? People are a little bit weirder about that. I asked for your address, all right, delete, like, we're done with this relationship. So there is a way to stage that. For me, I'm not looking for any of that information. I just want your name and phone and email address.
Mhm.
And the reason is it says, I'm going to promise you value from the beginning. That's a get in on the list, join the movement, become part of this. And every week, I literally just provide value for zero ask.
Mhm.
Now, what we do with that list is over time, I build this list that's got tens of thousands of people on this list. Well, now I end up throwing in this email sponsored by.
Right.
Like maybe I do an aging hack that is related to cardiovascular fitness.
Mhm.
And then at the end of cardiovascular fitness, I give you the recommendation of a nitric oxide supplement that I strongly recommend. And by the way, here's a coupon code if you want to try it. Now I'm playing the affiliate game.
Mhm.
The affiliate game becomes passive income. But the reality is that again, I'm doing that as a passive conversation with people.
Mhm.
For entrepreneurs who are trying to sell their own products, it's about providing value. It's the reciprocity. It's like, how are you educating people? How are you engaging people? Because the people who aren't willing to buy right now
Mhm.
are a different audience than the people who bought already.
Yes.
And the other thing that I find is that there is such a bent towards, and part of it's laziness, by the way, and part of it's laziness on the part of your marketing department. So anyone who actually is doing this stuff and just doesn't see a result from it, it's because you got a lazy marketing team.
Mhm.
Because the reality is that the people who have bought from you are an entirely different database, and they need a different voice. They need a different offer. They need a different conversation. If I bought from you, we're already friends.
Yeah.
And there's such a voicing difference between people who are part of the family versus the people who are not. Because I don't walk into other people's parties and just start talking as if we're familiar. We're not.
Right.
But at the same time, if I've already bought from you 3 times and you're talking to me like I'm a stranger, we clearly don't have the relationship I thought we did. And I actually, I'm going to laugh at this, Charles. My first book that I published was actually called Date Your Clients.
Mhm.
And what's funny is like the entire book is this walk through how the way that we treat relationships
Mhm.
and the way, like you talked about, if I wrote the copy for a dating site for a 20-year-old is very different than the way I would write copy for a dating site for a 40-year-old.
Mhm.
Date Your Clients is the same thing. It's like, why are we doing so many stupid things in business that we intuitively know how to do correctly when we're in a dating relationship? Like, yeah, like you make a first impression really well
Mhm.
when you're going on a date, right? You spend an extra half hour, you do a few extra push-ups, you vacuum the car, like you do these things because you prep for it.
Mhm.
Like, guys, like I hate to sound terrible, but it's like you make sure the house is clean because you just never know if you're coming back, right? Like
Mhm.
you do these types of things intuitively, but when you go into a client meeting, like, do you take that same type of care to make a first impression, or is it just another Tuesday?
Right.
Like
I
you
agree,
don't.
and people don't prep, and what's horrible, and we talk about this in relationships all the time, if you do what you did in the beginning, there won't be an end. And people talk about it all the time in relationships, we talk about it in business relationships as well. But a lot of people don't know how to value stack their offer either. They don't know how to provide enough value and connect. So when you're talking to a demographic that is the higher and they're at that higher level, what is the advice you give them? You sit down and say, okay, I've seen your offer. What got you here won't get you there, right?
Yeah.
It's a Tarzan idea that, Tarzan goes to the jungle blind to vine. He's got to let go of what used to get him or he stops immediately.
Correct.
So when you've got to let go, which is terrifying for a lot of people, saying, "Well, no, this got me to 9 million."
Mhm.
Like, right, but that's not going to get you to 90. So let's pivot this around a little bit. When you're going through and you're working with them and you're helping pivot their offer and you're changing their value stack, what are some of the things and some of the questions and even some of the mistakes that they make?
Uh, yeah, good question. Well, the biggest mistake that I find most entrepreneurs make is that they start to treat their teams like family. And I know that sounds crazy from a guy who just said we need to value relationships more than transactions.
Right, but again, it's where you are in the stage, right? Just where you are.
Correct.
Mhm.
Correct. But every business has a life cycle. And the reality is that the people you spend all your time with now aren't the people that you spend all your time with in the next stage of life. And part of that really boils down to, you may have had a marketing team that got you to a certain stage, but that needs to shift.
Yeah.
And you need to find out if you have the right leadership team for the current stage of your business, because I assure you, it's a different leadership team.
Yes.
And if you have a leadership team that people have been in your business for 20, 30 years, hmm, you have the wrong team. Like I
Yeah.
just recently had to move my COO out of the business And it was a painful thing. It was a long-term personal friend who had been with me for a long time through thick and thin, but it's like, you can't get me to where I need to go, and now you're hurting the business.
Right.
And this challenge for most entrepreneurs in that space is that, and this is the advice that I give you, if you have a good team, they know when it's their time.
Yes.
Like, the team that resists that change is data telling you it's the wrong team.
Right.
Like, if you have the person on the other end of the conversation who says, "Look, I'm tapped. Like, I'm as far as I can take this.
Mm-hmm.
You need what's next for you. The business needs a person better than me." That's maturity.
Mm-hmm.
And those people, I assure you, find somewhere else for them in the
Oh, yeah.
business because they add incredible value. But the person who's resisting the change is giving you the answer you need.
Regrettably.
And that, right, and that can be your marketing director. That can be, I was on a call yesterday, a new business call actually, with a guy that I met at a conference. He's looking for an agency to help launch an amazing tech product. He and I connected at a conference, totally, just bromanced out, just
Mm-hmm.
super cool guy, very similar past trauma with the FDA, like all this fun stuff. And I mean, he starts the call. We met at another conference a few weeks later. He was a guest on my podcast, like go, 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 go.
Mm-hmm.
We get on a call yesterday, in fact, and he invites his marketing director. Now he starts the call. She's not there yet. And he's like, "Look, you obviously know what you're doing." He's like, "I'm not even asking that question. Like, there's no doubt to me that you're an expert in your field. You come from every recommendation that I can imagine. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you've spoken on stages with people that are, literally, like, I laughingly say that the last conference that I was at with him, I spoke right after Callie Means finished speaking. It's like, so, here's a White House advisor. Here's Mark coming up after him. He's like, I'm not even
Yeah.
questioning that you know what you're doing. How do we work with you?"
Mm-hmm.
His marketing director joins the call and she takes the entire conversation into, well, I'm going to be preparing an RFP because there's a lot of agencies.
Mm-hmm.
And as I prepare this RFP, and I'm like, and I'm trying not to, whatever. And I'm trying to explain to her that, you can RFP if you're looking for someone to do your graphic design.
Mm-hmm.
You're in a product launch. And if you believe that doing an RFP for an agency to do your product launch is more valuable than the experience and relationship that's sitting on the call right now, go do your RFP.
Yeah, you told me
But
everything I needed to know. Yeah, and
correct.
that's
And I
such a
want to,
thank you so
and
much
I,
for sharing everything. Get
yep.
out of the way.
And I want to call him afterwards because he
Mhm.
got super weird as soon as she started saying those things. And I want to call him afterwards and be like, dude, you've got the wrong marketing director. Like, I don't want to sound terrible, but don't hire us so that way I don't seem biased. Like,
Mhm.
find someone else.
Yeah.
Don't hire me because that way it doesn't sound like I'm trying to sell you into what I do. For your sake, this girl is going to hurt you.
Yeah, 100%. If there's that type of resistance, like, as we said before, what got you here won't get you there. There's just no way around
Correct.
it. When
And she's probably done great for him.
absolutely, she got him to probably the, 9,000,000 mark,
Totally.
and that's wonderful, and mazel tov, and that takes, that you're already in the top X percent, but you're not gonna get
Absolutely.
the X percent. It just
Then
it
go
is what
find
it is.
another company and help them get to 9 million
Correct.
too then.
That's your gift, go from there, you're a middle reliever,
Yes.
you're not a closer. Go over there,
Well,
go do
and,
that.
and,
There's nothing
and the
wrong with
truth
it.
is a business is a relay race.
Yes.
And the truth is the first runner has a different skill set than the
Mhm.
second runner has a different
Absolutely.
skill set than the closer. Like, it's a different point in the race.
Right, and I think it's
And
for your agencies as well. There are certain agencies that I've worked for and said, "Hey, you're doing
100%.
great. I can't get you farther than this." And I've referred business over to those people all the time, like, "Hey, this is more of a product fit. This is a product,
100%.
go do that," versus this, because having that authenticity and showing up as your real self, which kinda goes back to what you said in the beginning.
I 100% agree with you. And I have a very, very good friend of mine runs a $100 million operation. And he's been like, how can we loop you into all of this? And I'm like, I mean, we can do graphics work for you. I'll gladly consult with you. But
Mhm,
in terms of what you need as an agency, like,
mhm,
we're very much like, you're not a retail product as in terms of going to big box because it's a very niche novelty product. And I'm like, you're not going to go to major retail, which means I can't support you in television. I can't support you in mass media because that's not your thing. You're a relationship business that's going to be built on C stores and going to be built on, duty frees and all this other kind of stuff. Like, you're not going to Kroger, you're not going to Target.
right,
And and I'm like, and you're not a direct to consumer business either. And I'm like, I'm not your guy.
Right.
Like I'm not your guy. Like you've got a couple of niche brands that I can
Mhm.
absolutely help you support, but your primary business, it's it's not
It's not my
it's not my
wheelhouse.
thing. I don't
Right.
want to play a game, I lose.
Right. Because it's a waste of everyone's time at that point. So
Absolutely.
when you run into those situations where people are trying to get to that next level and you have to redesign their offer, how much of that do you sit with them going, so, okay, this is what you used to say here and versus over here? Because there was a guy that I met at an event and he was talking about selling his product that didn't have any chemicals and it was all this beauty, skincare and all that. And how he was pitching it to me, I was like, that's not going to work in the market that you're trying to get into. So we had to redesign his whole offer. When you run into those situations, how do you pivot the offers and how do you work with the owners who might be married to something that, again, got them here, won't get them there?
Yeah, again, I'm gonna say there's a lot of contingencies in there because it really depends on the brand, it depends on what the product is.
Mhm,
It depends if the brand is a premium brand
mhm,
versus a lower one. I've had a lot of brands that just run 20% off
mhm,
kind of stuff, and I'm like, "Guys, like, that's what put Bed Bath& and Beyond out of business."
mhm,
Bed Bath& and Beyond became the place that everybody got their 20% off coupon in the mail every month, and then no one ever went to Bed Bath& and Beyond until the coupons showed up, and
right,
it got to the point that they just had a stack of them at the cash register,
mhm,
and you went to Bed Bath& and Beyond, and if you didn't have a coupon with you, the cashier just grabbed one out of the stack and gave you your 20% off. It's like
right,
you're devaluing whatever somebody's buying. And yet, what I will say is we work with some brands that are just gangbusters on Amazon because
mhm,
that's where they've made their niche, right? Like they've managed to be a commoditized discount brand. Most of the brands we work with in the health and wellness space, I encourage them to be premium,
mhm,
to offer incentives where incentives are necessary. But I think what the hardest thing to deal with right now, when you're talking about making that pivot on messaging, is we live in a very omni-channel world,
mhm,
and too many brands who get to that $10 million have built their brand on very low-hanging fruit, single channel outlets. They've found a big influencer in the space who is able to pump their sales up and get them an engaged audience. They found a meta funnel that was able to get them good sales conversion dollars. They found a really good lifetime value, so the same 3,000 people buy from them every month. Like
mhm,
they found a way to get to that $10 million. I think the biggest challenge for brands that are trying to break that ceiling and where it's hardest for them is an omni-channel approach that works in harmony.
mhm,
Because, for instance, what people don't get, I just had this conversation with a client the other day, and that is sure your ROAS, your return on ad spend on Meta, isn't as high as your return on ad spend at Google. But if we lower the Meta spend, your Google ROAS is going to go down also because one channel is creating intent while the other one is actually getting the conversion. And as a weighted MER,
mhm,
your return is amazing.
right.
Like
And
they've got
it's
like five.
understanding that it's omni-channel, what you were talking about earlier, is that you've gotta be everywhere all at
Correct.
once in a lot of ways.
Correct.
And
And also they're at trade shows. They're working with influencers. They're doing podcasts. They're in all of these other places. So they are getting a lift from everything, which not only makes our job easier because they're doing a lot of the footwork in being present in places, but we have other companies that we work with that trying to get them to even be a guest on someone else's podcast is like pulling teeth. And we're like, guys, you're trying to build a business
yeah,
on the back of a Facebook landing page.
yeah,
And if it doesn't work,
mhm,
then the business model isn't working. The landing page is broken. The ads must not be attractive enough. And we're like, I mean, literally, this is a brand. And for anybody who knows this stuff, this will make sense. And if not, I don't think there's a lot of value in unpacking it right here. But they're getting a like a 3% click through rate
mhm,
on their ads with a 4% conversion rate on a landing page and talking about how, this just needs to improve. It's just not working. And I'm like, guys, like those numbers, like most of our clients would be begging to get those kind of click through rates and those types of conversion rates. Like they would kill to have that. Now, granted, you're in a category that's making your CPMs high and whatever. But the reality is you need to fix your offer or something. But the problem is you're literally trying to do business in this silo and measuring your silos silo by silo, and that's not the way the world works anymore. Like this is, I'll quote a Hillary Clinton and say, like, in order to build a business, like it takes a village. Like
Yeah.
we need to be
Yeah.
all of this stuff needs to be working together. So when we say omnichannel, it's not go get a TikTok influencer. It's not get a better ad, Google ads. It's and
Right.
it's
Yeah.
all
And
of this
so
together.
we always teach people in the beginning, master one channel first, lock into that, get really good at least
Yep.
one, and then start branching out. When people go into that branching out and they try and do more things that cover that more of that scope, what are the ways that you have them present differently? Or do you say, hey, what worked on TikTok, keep doing that over in Gram, or what worked on the podcast really works in your email? How do you tell them to show up differently or the same way?
It depends on the channel. It depends on who the founder is, because
Mhm,
sometimes you get a really dynamic founder
mhm,
who can show up in all channels and be relatable. Sometimes you get a founder who needs to hire somebody to be the face of their company.
mhm.
And that matters. It
Yes.
very much matters how that person shows up, if they're even capable of doing what they think they're capable of doing.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, in some channels it works, in other channels it doesn't. When you've got a TikTok influencer as a founder, easy, easy done. I
mhm.
just had the
Right.
Navin sisters on my podcast recently, and it's like I thought they were 25 years old. They're 42-year-old twins.
Mhm.
And I was like, how in the world are you 42 years old? And I mean, statuesque, beautiful, ripped bodies, perfect presentation. And I'm like, you are your own brand. Like you literally,
Fun.
they've got a healthcare coaching business for women, as well as a skincare line. And I'm like, literally anybody who sees you is like, I want to be you. What do you do? Like, that's literally the way this is, because they're the girls that every guy wants to be with and every girl wants to be.
Mhm.
And like you're your own ad. But I've got other clients that are 60-something-year-old bald men who no
Pretty
one
hard to
wants to
sell
take
that.
health. Yeah, no one wants to take health advice from you. Like, I don't want to look like you. I don't want to be you. And I tell my own staff here on a regular basis, like, as I just said to you, like, I'm turning 50, you're turning 48, right? Like, I don't think anybody's guessing either one of our ages,
No.
and that's my brand.
Right.
My brand is literally aging defiantly. When
So
we
you
talked
you
about
have
fit
to
or
age
over,
defiantly. Yeah, if you were
I have to age defiantly or it doesn't work anymore.
correct. Correct.
Like, I leave work at 6 o'clock every day
Mhm,
to go to the gym,
mhm.
and for me, like, while I enjoy it and all that other kind of stuff, the reality is I'm leaving here to go to the gym, but that's a continuation of my work day.
Yes, 100%. Absolutely.
That
And
that that is
so,
part of my brand.
yeah, I think that's one of the mistakes that people make is they don't understand that they, in a lot of ways, are their brand. And when you're talking really high-end deals, we talked about this before we started rolling that, people will focus on the result before the person. When you get to those lower ones, you've got to buy the person first. It is what it is. It just depends on
Mhm.
what's going on. What are some of the mistakes? You just talked about one, not looking like your brand. If you're selling a luxury thing and you're showing up in a pair of shorts wearing a Fitbit, it's going to be hard to sell that luxury item at that point. What are some of the mistakes that business owners make that you run into that are just, you would wish they would handle this way before they ever showed up at your door?
Oh gosh, that's a wide open question.
I tried to make it easy for you.
Um, yeah, good question. Um, what are some of the mistakes that I think people make when they show up? I will I'm just gonna give you an answer on that, and I'm not even gonna say that it's the superlative, but it is an
Okay.
answer that comes to mind. Um, I don't close people. I don't make a point of trying to sell anybody anything I do. I make a
Mhm,
point of showing up to add value
mhm,
authentically,
mhm.
and should that resonate with that person, we build a relationship from there.
Right.
When I'm having a guest on my podcast, for instance, like, one of the things that drives me crazy is when the person shows up on the podcast and I'm like, "Hey, it's so good to have you here today," blah blah blah. We do our little intro, and they're immediately, they're holding their
Yeah,
product
they're
like
trying to sell it, like, "This
this,
is what I do." I'm like,
and
"Oh my god." Yeah, I've
and I'm
actually
like,
yeah. What are you
you
doing?
need to stop. No one wants to listen to this podcast. Like, I didn't tune
100%.
into the commercial channel, right? I
Right.
I tuned in because I wanted to learn something, and
Mhm,
you're not helping me learn anything other than you're trying to sell me something. I said, that's disingenuous.
mhm,
It comes across terrible. And the truth is when I don't know if you do the same thing, but
mhm.
we just had a meeting about it yesterday, in fact, with my production team, because There was a bunch of podcasts that we recorded when we were on location at a conference a month or two ago, and I'm like, "Nope, nope, nope,
Yep.
nope, nope." And
100%.
what would have been episodes
Are
turned
not.
into bonus material. You're
Yes.
welcome to go throw them on the channel.
Yeah.
They are not an episode
100%.
because
I literally just had that. This was a very, very impressive founder of a very famous company came on. We did the whole studio thing. We did everything. But the individual we brought with him just pitched the whole time. And I stopped the interview multiple times. I was like, listen, you got to stop doing that. You're not providing enough value. No, I'll edit this part out. You have to stop doing this. And at
yes,
the end of the day, my team edited this like, we got nothing. This isn't this. We can't do this. And I was like,
yep.
archive it. No one will ever see
And
that episode because I'm like, sorry, it's not going to happen.
well, and we'll edit them down into shorts,
Hmm.
and we will post them on the YouTube channel, and we'll get some shorts out of it. We'll do some reels that'll, outtakes, whatever we want to do with the footage, and not necessarily throw it away. But it's like if you show up on my podcast and you're just holding your product in your hand, and when I say, "Hey, so I want to get in this conversation with you about nutrition," yes, my product is the most nutritious
Yeah.
on the
Click, buy. Yeah.
click,
100.
edit, done.
Yeah.
And I'm
100%.
forever, and I'm always trying to unwind that conversation with them and going, wow, that's really cool. I want to get to that.
Right.
But like, I first need to understand why I have the problem before I care that you solve
Yes.
it.
Mm-hmm.
And, and
Simple marketing. Feel, felt, fix. Don't start with fix.
absolutely,
Start with feel, felt, and
absolutely.
then
See,
we'll
I
talk
use
about
feel,
fix.
felt, found. I use feel, felt, found. Those are mine.
Mhm.
I
So,
totally understand how you feel. Other people have felt the exact same way. And what they found,
well, it's this, and this. Yeah.
yeah,
100%. Yeah. And it's these
same
little
thing.
things that prove it. Yeah. It's just that don't tell me the problem. I mean, don't give me the solution yet. Make sure I trust you and respect you. And yeah, like everyone says
Or,
KLT. I was like, reverse that. It's just anyway. But
well,
yeah, go
and
for it.
I'll say this, like, it's not, and sometimes it's a matter of people aren't even aware that they have a problem.
Correct. Which is
Like,
brand
like
awareness. Eugene Schwartz talked about this before. This is the 5 levels of awareness that people go through. And this is psychology 101 when
it's
people just don't get it. And it's
how,
okay.
how, how many people walk around all day and go, wow, I feel nutritionally depleted?
Mm.
Like, nobody feels that way. Nobody
Right.
thinks that way. Like,
Right.
nobody is just like, wow, spinach has so many oxalates. I wonder if I should.
Yeah, they don't go and
Nobody
go to Whole
thinks
Foods and
that
go, look at
way.
all the oxalates today. It's not what's happening.
Exactly.
So,
And nobody thinks that way. And trying to get so many products and so many people, like I've got it's these war stories. I've
mhm,
got a client right now that is selling a product that increases bone density.
mhm,
And it's like, necessary, yes. Like, should people be taking it? Yes.
right.
Particularly perimenopause and postmenopausal women. Absolutely.
Mhm,
Taking care of bone density is an issue, particularly
mhm.
whatever. And I'm like, guys, like, nobody walks around and goes, man, my bones feel fragile
Right.
today. Like, the only time I ever feel that is in the ER.
Right. And you're
Right?
not selling at that point.
At
Yeah.
which point it's too late. And I'm
Yes.
like, the only way to do this is to talk about it. And we did this full advertorial that I thought was brilliant, to be honest with you. And the whole advertorial was written in the voice of a woman who was sitting looking at her mom in a hospital bed with a broken hip,
Yeah.
and
That
having a
works.
conversation with herself about, man, I feel so helpless. There's nothing I can do for her. And the only actionable step I can do is never to be her.
Right. And it's
Like,
it's the conversation of Advil, like, what Advil doesn't sell ibuprofen. Advil doesn't sell pain relief. Advil sells a little pill that you can get back to your life. The little pill that's gonna be able to drive your kid home from school. Sell the result, not what the product's made of. This isn't complicated, but people lose this all the time, and it makes me wanna drive a car into we just had car problems. We'll talk about that later. We already ran through enough car problems for
I
you.
can't drive a car. I can't get through the DMV.
Yeah, you can't get to the DMV down here. So
I'm not even allowed to drive a car. What are you talking about?
So if people wanted to get a hold of you and do this better and track you down and say, listen, I've done really well. I've gotten to I've done the 7-figure mark. I'm just about to get to 8. How do people get a hold of you? How do they get in touch with you? What's
Yeah.
the best course of action?
Well, I appreciate that, and I would love to have conversations with them. We do industry audits and stuff like this, so I'd offer a free audit to
Mhm,
anybody who's listening if they just want to see that. Normally, that's a $300 value.
mhm,
Free audit to anybody who reaches out and mentions your name. But our agency is RYZE Agency, RYZE Agency.com, or they're welcome to look me up at themarkyoung.com.
mhm.
All that, it's probably easier to remember the Mark Young than it is
Yeah.
how to spell RYZE. But if they go to themarkyoung.com, they can learn more about me. They can follow me on social. They can find agency links. They can see my books. Anything like that's all available there. It's kind of my whole life in a landing page. But yeah, that would be the easiest way. But anybody who's interested in just seeing what the industry looks like, we've got tools where we pull what are the competitors doing? How are they marketing? What's successful for them? And then give some tips on that best roadmap.
Mhm.
And that does not mean that they have to do business with us. We can also do one of the things I will say that most businesses that are reaching that 8 to 10 million mark
Mhm.
struggle with, which is another kind of an entry level tool that we use. Um, they struggle because they've intuitively felt their way to 8 to 10 million. Like there comes a point that you just kind of know what the bank balance is and you kind of know what the inventory in the warehouse
Right.
looks like. And you feel like you know the voice of your consumer. Once you get past that $8 to 10 million mark, where a lot of businesses struggle is understanding how to run a business from metrics and not gut
Mhm.
feeling.
Yes, I tell people
Um,
all the time, you can brute force your way to 10,000,000. You're not gonna get beyond
Correct.
that. There's
Past
just no way.
past 10 million,
Mhm.
past 10 million, there's no way to do it without understanding KPIs. And one of the things that we also do is, we do NDAs and everything, but what we can do is actually take 2 years worth of your transactional data
Mhm.
and actually back that in to KPIs and actually give you data on how your business has performed going. And it literally will just take all of that information and turn it into a KPI reference sheet,
Mhm.
which will give you information about what is your lifetime value, what are your repeat customer rates, and give you some industry baselines on all of that kind of stuff too. So, just some really good information that I think any business that's trying to turn that corner could really use. So we can bang those out. So anybody who's listening, by all means, reach out. We can give you some information on that and really give you some insight into your own business that you might not even have because you've brute forced your way to where you are. And I think it's time that people who are trying to make that switch start working a little smarter than harder because none of us are getting younger too, right?
No, even
We
though
can we
some of
can
us have
age.
better names, last
Yeah,
names that are actually that, we don't. You have the last name
exactly.
of Young, it's kind of
I
cheating.
do. I
It's
do. I'm
cheating.
the marketing guy who works in longevity. I'm Mark Young. This kind of wrote itself.
Yeah, it's really easy. Alright, Mark, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for being on.
I appreciate you, buddy. Good seeing you.
Success isn't about chasing vanity metrics or trying to be everything to everyone. It's about showing up authentically, building real relationships, and understanding that what got you here won't get you there.